We know one thing you wish you had known when you began your career.
Oh, well, one thing that I would have known in my career when I began my career, probably the purpose of life. I kind of realized that today, even today, none of the educations back in India, they don't teach you how to live life. They really don't teach you how to live life. They don't teach you to find the real purpose of your life. They just teach you a lot of academically, but I think what I did not have at that time, or what most of our kids don't have today, is that they really don't teach you how to live life, or they don't teach you what's the purpose of life. It's interesting. When I do training sessions, and when I conduct transformational training for various people, and I'm a certified life coach, and I'm a certified transformational trainer. So, and I'm also a KBB member. I'm a Knowledge Blueprint Broker member from the mastermind. So, while I teach people and train people, the three things that I ask them, and that's when you can actually really find out the real purpose of your life. Things like, when you know that you were going to succeed in anything that you do, what would you do? And find an answer for that. And what would you be? The other question that one can ask is that if you have $50 million in your bank account, what would you do and what would you be? And the third question is that if you know that you have only 6 months to live, what would you do and what would you be? Now, if you take time out and answer these three questions, you are destined to find the real purpose of your life. I wish I had known this one when I started my career. I really wish somebody had taught me this. Somebody had really spent that time and effort and patience in digging that into me at that time, where I really needed to actually find where I belong to. I think this should have been a blessing if this was happened at that time, but nevertheless, everything is designed. So everything happens by design, as life is happening for you and not life is happening to you, isn't it?
What is your biggest failure and what did you learn from that,
Oh yes. Failure in the sense, I don't know whether any of the failures that I've had in my life to be classified as the biggest. I would call it a failure as the biggest failure, where you are completely grounded and you have to pick up the strings once again and start all over in your life. By God's grace, I never had come across a failure to that extent where I would call it as a biggest failure, where I lost everything and I had to rebuild my empire of the career or a journey or the life. So I wouldn't say all the failures that I've had as biggest failures, but of course, life has got two sides. There's good and there's bad, and if there is darkness, there's light. So similarly, if there is a success, there's a failure. Several failures. Every failure I've kind of managed the way through. Learned lessons on how to live life in an environment of professionals. How to strive hard to make sure that you succeed. Things like certain situations that you handle while at work, being in a professional organizations, you suddenly sometimes go up just because of the word that you speak or just because of the act that you do. All these were sometimes failures, and then you immediately learn out of it. You don't continue to do the mistakes again and again. So that's something which I've kind of learned over the years. Besides professional failures, of course, I mean, I've had several failures personally, in relationships, in life. But I would say, I mean, well, it's all part of life. I mean, you know, we all fail. I mean, all of us fail, either professionally or personally or in life, or especially in relationships. So I've had failures, of course, but I never let any of those failures eat up my energy, eat up the infinite power inside me. The very reason that I'm alive today, the very reason that I'm alive, quite well motivated, inspired, quite well full of energy, full of pretty balanced in my approach to life every day, is all because of the grace of God and the divinity that I've been able to nurture inside me. So failures that has been there, that has been a blessing in terms of learning for me. That's what I can say.
What are the best resources that helped you to grow in your HR department?
Well, if you ask me about the best resources that has helped me along the way in human resources, all my experiences have been great resources of learning for me, and I never stopped learning. I've always been studying one or other things in my journey, and I kind of did a lot of small certifications, online educations, not to collect accolades, but just to enrich my experiences, learning, attending seminars, attending workshops, attending talk shows, interacting with people around, for various forums. So the HR forums that I've been into as a member have immensely helped me in interacting with people of the same industry. So one thing which I can talk to the upcoming students or people who would want to build a career in HR is that the learning should never stop. You are a learner every moment, every second. You're a learner. Even on your deathbed, you're actually learning how to die. So it never stops. So how the resources? Of course, I read a lot. I do read a lot of stuff on blogs and on internet. I kind of watch a lot of YouTube videos which are more into training, human resources kind of stuff. So my resources that developed me in human resources is my experience, the people around, learning from seniors, books, reading, blogs, training, HR fraternity networks. All these had immensely helped me in my HR journey.
3 people who influenced very best in your life.
3 people who influenced me in my life thus far. It's quite difficult to actually say, limit it to only 3 people, because in your journey, I mean, a lot of people come into your life, and everyone comes to your life for a reason. Some people stay with you, some people move on and become a story in your life. But a lot of people actually stay with you in your memory, and their influences, the good or the bad, has a great impact into your personality. It is said that you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around with. So if you have to choose those 5 people, and if you knew this at an early age, you had the option to choose those 5 people that you really need to hang around with, then you would have been a blessed soul. But I wasn't such a blessed soul, and so the people who influenced me, of course, people who I can remember at various stages of my life is my maths teacher, whose teaching and whose approach to teaching I would never forget, because if it wasn't her, I wouldn't have scored 95 out of 100 in my plus 1 and 100 out of 100 in my plus 2. Something which is kind of registered in my mind all the time, that the marks that I got in maths in plus 1 and plus 2. The other person who influenced me great was Professor Mirza, who taught food and beverage service in hotel management, and he was a terror in the college, and somehow we connected very well, and somehow I really liked the way his approach to discipline, approach to strictness, approach to the subject, the passion for the subject, his meticulous way of handling things, his eye for detail, his memory, his sharpness. So I kind of got a lot influenced by him, though I was shit scared of him. But we connected very well. There was a, you call it as some cosmic connection. I had a great connect with him, and that influence stayed with me, and it came into life when I was teaching in a catering college in Mumbai for 4 years, and I was teaching my favorite subject, food and beverage service, at that time, and I was a reflection of Mr. Mirza to my students for 4 years. So he had a great influence on me. Another one was Professor Shalia, who taught me finance in my post-graduation. Great human being, and learned a lot about life from him. That's something which stayed with me for long. Another people who I consider as influences for me is one is Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, because I'm an Isha meditator, I'm an Isha volunteer, and having studied in his ashram, and having listened to most of his talks, and he influences me a lot. I'm a member of Knowledge Blueprint Broker of Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. So Tony Robbins is another influence on me, and I'm a great fan of, and I'm a member of TR Fans, and I've learned a lot from Tony Robbins, and I enjoy watching him. Two other people who I can remember as people who influenced me are Dr. Bruce Lipton, whose studies on subconscious mind and conscious mind has influenced me at a great extent. A scientist in epigenetics, Dr. Lipton has influenced me great by his books and by his talks and all that. The other person who also has a profound influence in me is Dr. Wayne Dyer, whose books and whose audios and videos have influenced me great. Late Dr. Wayne Dyer. So these are the people that I could call and I could remember as people who influenced me in my life and my career. I just can't actually put a number to it, saying that these are the three most. Everyone had their own part to play in my formation of every cell in my body. So these were my few of the influencers that I can think of.